Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Yamunatiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Yamunatiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jam Vishnupatmanam Sapravartikacharya Stottara Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhai Chandravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namachara Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sadvaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरी गोवर्धन की जय निताय गौर परमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ओ ग्लोरियस assembled devotees Hare Krishna O glorious assembled devotees Hare Krishna O glorious assembled devotees Hare Krishna O glorious Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga O glorious Shri Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaputari Shmadharana Swami Jamni Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaputari Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharane Nirvishisha Shunyavadi Prachatadi Shatarane Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text 9. Chapter 16 is entitled Jai and Vijay, Cursed by the Sages. Yesham bibarmyaham akanda vikunta yoga Maya vibhutir amalangri rajah kiritahi Vipram stuko na vishaheta yatarhanambah Sadyah punati sahachandra lala malokan Yesham of the Brahmanas Bibharmi I bear Aham I Akhanda unbroken Vikuntha unobstructed Yogamaya internal energy Vibhutihi opulence Amala pure Angri of the feet Rajaha the dust Kiritaihi on my helmet Vipran the Brahmanas Tu then Kaha who Na not Vishahita carry Yat of the Supreme Lord Arhana Ambaha water which has washed the feet Sadhyaha at once Punati sanctifies Saha along with Chandralalama Lord Shiva Lokan the three worlds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I am the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the three worlds along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Purport. The difference between the internal and external energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that in the internal energy, or in the spiritual world, all the opulences are undisturbed, whereas in the external or material energy, all the opulences are temporary manifestations. The Lord's supremacy is equal in both the spiritual and material worlds, but the spiritual world is called the kingdom of God, and the material world is called the kingdom of Maya. Maya refers to that which is not actually fact. The opulence of the material world is a reflection. It is stated in Bhagavad-Gita that this material world is just like a tree whose roots are up and branches down. This means that the material world is the shadow of the spiritual world. Real opulence is in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the predominating deity is the Lord himself, whereas in the material world, there are many lords. That is the difference between the internal and external energies. The Lord says that although he is the predominating factor of the internal energy, and although the material world is sanctified just by the water that has washed his feet, he has the greatest respect for the Brahmana and Vaishnava. When the Lord himself offers so much respect to the Vaishnava and the Brahmana, how can one deny such respect to such personalities? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shriuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Behivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So today we continue the discussion about how Lord Vishnu tried to pacify four Kumaras with glorifying Brahmanas. And here we can see from this verse that in Sanskrit, verse uses the word vipra. Vipram stukuna vishahita yadarha nambaha. And Prabhupada translates it as the Vaishnava. So the verse itself speaks about Brahmanas because the Lord wanted to pacify those four Brahmanas. But Prabhupada translates it as a Vaishnava. That he takes, the Lord is explaining that he takes the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head. So why do you think that Prabhupada translates it like this?
Because the real Brahmana is one who's dear to Krishna, which is a Vaishnava.
Yes, real Brahmana. Brahmana in fact means what?
What does Brahmana Brahman?
Yes, exactly. One who knows Brahman. And Brahman is one aspect of Krishna. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. This is advay gyan. Brahmati paramatmati bhagavan iti shabdati. That means that Krishna is Brahman. Or in fact, Brahman is Krishna. There is no difference. Just one aspect of Krishna is Brahman. And he also explains Brahman, how Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyavasya cha. So he's the basis of Brahman. So anyone who is really a Brahmana, he should be a Vaishnava. Otherwise, it is explained here. He uses the name for Brahmana Vipra. Viprat Vishad Gunaetat Ravindanabha Pada Ravinda Vimukashva Bacham Varishtam Manyeta Dartita Mano Vachanehi Tarta Pranam Punati Sakulam Natuburimanaha. It is explained in 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that those Brahmanas who are not Vaishnavas, so-called Brahmanas that are not Vaishnavas, are lower than Dogeaters. And they cannot, and the Dogeaters who are devotees they can purify not only themselves but only their whole families. But those Brahmanas that are not Vaishnavas, they cannot even purify themselves, what to speak of others. So we can see from these statements that this birth in so-called Brahmana family does not mean that we are Brahmanas automatically. We should behave like Brahmanas, and it is explained in Bhagavad-gita, Shamotamasta Pakshaushank Shartnir Arjamamevacha Jnana Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Svabhavacham. That Brahmanas are peaceful and tolerant, and those qualities were not found in 4 Kumaras. They're not peaceful and not tolerant. And they were angry. And anger is Kamanuja, the younger sister of Kama, of lust, of material desire. So their anger is expression of their false identification with their bodies, in fact. Yes. Okay. So we should understand that real Brahmana is Vaishnava. And Vaishnava means that he has already transcended these qualifications of different varnas and ashramas. So real Brahmana has to transcend this understanding of bodily differences. So, and here the Lord explains that He is the master of unobstructed internal energy. And as we know from the scriptures and from Bhagavad-gita, that the devotees are always seeking and taking shelter of Lord's internal energy. Mahatmanastu mam parta devim prakritim ashita bhajanyanane manaso gyatva bhutadim avayam. Mahatmas are always taking shelter of my internal energy. And this is explained that here in this verse from 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it indicates Radharani. And this Devim Prakritim Ashita, that they take shelter of Radharani. And those who don't take shelter, is explained one verse before, Mugasha Moga Karma no Moga Jnana Vichitasa, Rakshasim Asurim Jiva, Prakritim Mohinim Shitaha. They take shelter of Prakritim Mohinim, the illusory energy, And Mugasha Moga Karma, no, all their hopes are in vain. Moga means in vain. And Ashaha means hopes. And Moga Karma, and all their activities, all their endeavors are in vain. Mugasha Moga Karma, no Moga Jnana, and all their knowledge is in vain. Moga Jnana Vichitasa. Rakshasim Asurim Cheva. And here Krishna is very extremely harsh, explaining the material consciousness. Those who are not Mahatmas are Duratmas, far away from Krishna. Duratma means the soul who is far away from Krishna. And those Duratmas are Rakshasim Asurim. They're like Rakshasas and Asuras. Yes. And Rakshasas are who? Man-eaters. Exactly. So every living entity that is not devotee is actually Rakshasa. His blood drinkers. Yes, and what does it mean? This is not just some statements to attract attention of Krishna. It has deep meaning, because if we are not devotees, every relationship that we have in this material world is in fact a mutual exploitation. Is expecting something from the other. And this mutual exploitation means eating, in fact. And so even mothers who has the most pure love in this world, it is considered to be the mother's love. It's most pure, most similar to spiritual love. But it is still some expectation is there from their children. So even in this relationship, which is supposed to be most pure, is still some Rakshasa nature. It's hard to hear, but it is true. And Krishna uses this language just to wake us up. Because if we are not awakened to this absolute truth, we will still try to find some happiness and security in external energy, in this prakritim mohinim. Yes. And asurim, of course, if we don't surrender to Krishna, then that means that we are asuras. That we are not godly, but we are demoniac. Because we don't shelter of Krishna. So, the Lord is master of his internal energy. And that means that we should take shelter of his internal energy. Yes. And the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. This is before appearance of Vamanadeva, but still Ganges is eternal Charanamrita of the Lord. It's not something that appeared somewhere in the past, but it is eternal Charanamrita of the Lord. And at that time, Vamana pierced the covering of the universe, And here it is said that although Vamana pierced the universe, in that time also Lord Shiva bear it on his head, the Ganges water. So Lord Shiva is also eternal, like Lord Vishnu. Sadashiva is in fact Vishnu Tattva. So we should not disrespect Lord Shiva because he is Vaishnavana Meta Shambhu. He is the most elevated Vaishnava. Okay. So and the Lord here explains that he takes the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on his head. And we explained also yesterday that Aradhananam sarvasham Vishnur Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. That worship of Lord's devotees and everything connected with the Lord is even superior to worship of Lord Vishnu. Yes, and so he is keeping the dust of the Vaishnavas always on his head. That means that Lord is the servant of his servants. And what does it mean? That the Lord is the servant of his servants. That he has great love for the devotees. Yes. What?
He's controlled by the love of the devotees.
And the control. He's under control of the love of his devotees. Yes. Yes. So love is more powerful than Krishna himself, who is most powerful. And Krishna is one who attracts everyone. Therefore, his name is Krishna. But prema attracts him. Is Shri Krishna Akarshini. So his prema has is more potent than Krishna himself, because he's attracted to prema. And it is explained that he's attracted to bhakti, because bhakti is cause of prema, and prema is one aspect of bhakti, the highest aspect of bhakti. But bhakti itself is so attractive, is explained by Jiva Goswami, that the Lord is attracted even to sadhaka bhaktas, not just prema bhaktas. Of course, they have to be purified first, but they cannot be purified by themselves. Yes. Shrimvatah svakatah Krishna punya shravana kirtana hirdyantak stohya badrani vidunoti suhritsatam. That is explained that Lord himself, when he is satisfied with his devotees, they purify when they hear and chant about the Lord's glories. He purifies them from within their hearts. So it's not in our power to purify our hearts. It's Lord's mercy. And by this purification only we can attain higher states of bhakti. And prema, of course. So Lord is attracted even by sadhana bhakti, not just prema. Okay. So we can see from here that Lord is extremely merciful also to these Brahmanas who are offensive, in fact. And how we can know that they are offensive? because they cursed Vaishnavas. It is explained that the first offense is to be disrespectful to the Vaishnavas. And this disrespect to the Vaishnavas have different categories, as you may remember. And one of the most mild offense to the Vaishnavas is what? Mild.
Think badly in the mind, disrespect in the mind.
Yes, what is in the mind is not considered an offense in Kali Yuga. But what expression?
To ignore them.
Not to be happy when we see them. And they were, of course, not happy when they saw Jai and Vijay. But not only that, the most severe offense to the Vaishnavas is what?
Curse.
No. Is to kill them. To kill Vaishnava is most severe offense. And here, by cursing them to go to material world, in fact, they were cursing them to die. Because material world is Martya Loka, the world of death. So they, in fact, they tried to kill them, and the Lord killed them many times as demons. So this was Nama Parada from for Kumaras. So we should. This story is teaching us how important it is to be afraid of aparada, of Vaishnava aparada especially, and to be attracted to the Lord, who is so merciful that even though these people were committing aparadas to the Vaishnavas, and it's extremely significant and interesting to see how Jai and Vijay reacted. They didn't counter-curse them, but in fact they were much more powerful personalities than for Kumaras. They were eternal associates of the Lord, and extremely powerful, and they could, of course, counter-curse. No problem for them. But they didn't. They were asking forgiveness from four Kumaras. So this was their tolerance. They exhibited their tolerance and peace and everything that they should exhibit, the four Kumaras should exhibit, if they would really be self-realized Brahmanas. But they were not. They became angry and intolerant, and they cursed Vaishnavas. But Vaishnavas who could curse, also counter-curse, they didn't. They asked forgiveness. And when Bhrigu Muni tested these three personalities, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, Brahma became angry, although he didn't express his anger when he was disrespected by Bhrigu Muni. And Shiva, and this was mental offense because he didn't offer his obeisance, but Brahma became upset, angry with him, but he controlled his anger. But when he came to Shiva, Shiva wanted to embrace his brother, Bhrigu, but he said, "You're a filthy guy, don't touch me." So this was verbal offense, and Shiva wanted to kill him. And then he came to Vaikuntha, to Lord Vishnu, and he kicked him on his chest. But the Lord with his consort, Lakshmi Devi, on his bed with her. So it was bodily offense of the worst possible manner, because he was along with his wife. But what did Vishnu do? He apologized that he didn't notice, and he massaged the feet of Bhrigu and explained and asked him for forgiveness because he has so hard chest and that he didn't hurt his foot. He hoped that Bhrigu didn't hurt his foot. This was his concern, completely mild and meek in front of Bhrigu Muni. And so these two Vaishnavas, Jai and Vijay, also acted like this, exactly the same manner. They were asking forgiveness for Kumaras, but they were completely intolerant and prepared to curse, and they cursed, in fact, Jai and Vijay. And here the Lord is acting in the same way as Jai and Vijay. He's very tolerant. He even glorifies Brahmanas, although they didn't behave like Brahmanas. Yes, and just to pacify them. And the consequence of this offense is, of course, as we explained yesterday, that they couldn't enter Vaikuntha. They just had to return back to the material world. Okay, we'll stop here. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes, please.
You were mentioning how the Mahatmas take shelter of the Devi Prakriti.
Yes.
And those who are Rakshakshas, they take shelter of material energy.
Yes.
But it seems like the material energy is forced upon the living entity more than the living entity taking shelter of it.
Yes. But we nevertheless take shelter of it, because we always take shelter of something. Shelter means what?
Protection.
Protection, yes. So we seek protection in this world. We seek, for example, those who are not devotees, soldiers, they call their mother if they're in danger. This is well known. So they take shelter of their mother, but mother is illusory energy. So they take shelter in illusory energy. Or we take shelter of some insurance company to be secure. Or we take shelter of our education or medical care, or somehow or other something in this material world, and we don't count on Krishna. So this is Prakriti Mohinim Shitaha, that they take shelter of illusory energy, because this energy will not protect them. The energy will kill them. Will kill them all without any consideration, without any mercy. But those who take shelter of Krishna, of course they do care also on material platform how to deal with things. They're not careless in this regard. But they know that only Krishna is the real shelter. And if Krishna wants, he can kill them. And if he wants, he can protect them. But everything, they are aware that everything is Krishna's protection, in fact. Even if he kills their body, still they are protected. But those who don't take shelter of Krishna count that these different material shelters will protect them from calamity, And the worst calamity for them is, of course, to lose the existence, whatever they mean by this. Many different, in many different ways, we can lose our existence in material world. For example, for honorable person, dishonor is loss of existence. And for those who want to be young and powerful, old age and invalidity is loss of existence. And so we have many aspects of losing of existence. And ultimate loss of existence is, of course, death itself. Yes. So we can see that, in fact, we do take shelter. It's not just something external that we are forced to live in, but we also choose to take shelter only of this aspect of Krishna, this external aspect of Krishna.
Well, why is it then we hear about taking shelter of Krishna and the spiritual energy, but we see it as like not practical?
Because we don't have faith. To have faith is something extremely rare. In one article of Back to Godhead, Srila Prabhupada, even before he came to America, he wrote that many pose themselves as Vaishnavas. They wear kanti mala and tilak and dhoti and so on. But because he is a chemist, he said when they're put in, he said, in acid test or something like this, of their genuinity of their spiritual consciousness, their majority of them are just mundaners. That means in reality they don't have trust and faith in Krishna, in Krishna's protection. They have faith in different material protections more than in Krishna. So they are afraid. The consequence is that they are afraid. They're always afraid. Because fear is one of the aspects of material life, like eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, defending. But this defending is fearing, is the consequence of fear. So that we seek shelter in different ways. For example, house or clothing and so on is expression of material fear of our discomfort or fear of losing our existence. And so they work somewhere in difficult situation just to protect their bodies, and they are afraid to lose their job, even if it is not conducive for spiritual life. So we can see that this real deep trust is extremely rare, and extreme expression of trust is by Srivas Thakur. You know what this means? Yes. He is just depending on Krishna. And he's prepared to die if Krishna doesn't care for him. Yes. And Krishna explains that he always do take care of Krishna, of his devotees. Ananyas chintayantamam ye janah parupasate tesham nitya bhayuktanam yogakshema bhakamyaham. That those who are under the Lord's protection, he cares for them. He carries what they lack and protects what they have. Personally, I think Bilvan Mangal Thakur, who was no, some other sorry, who is who? Arjunacharya. Arjunacharya was this, or was to this verse? Was Arjunacharya? Okay, he crossed the line. Yes, Arjunacharya. I thought it was someone else, but okay. Arjunacharya crossed this verse in Gita, and Krishna came to his house with the load of things for him, because he went, as you know, he went begging outside, and this day he couldn't receive anything, and he came disappointed back home. But during that time, the boy came to his wife carrying a big load of stuff. And he was, the wife saw that he was hurt. And the boy explained that, yes, your husband beat me very severely. And she was shocked because she thought that her husband is very, very gentle person. And when he came home, she was very severe with him. Why did you beat this poor child like this? And he didn't know what she's speaking about. And then he realized that Krishna himself brought so many things to his house, and that his crossing in Gita was the cause of hurting Krishna. Yes. So we should develop deep faith in Krishna. This is the message, and take shelter only of Krishna. Yes. And these other things that we do in this material world, that it seems to be care for our protection, is just to take burden of Krishna's shoulders for protecting us. Understand? We should do our part, what is in our power, but we leave it on Krishna, everything. It's the example in Journey Home, when I think it was near Varshana somewhere in forest, there was some leopard who killed many people, and Radhanath Maharaj came to his ashram, and they were sleeping outside. They didn't have any shelter, and he asked. In fact, he saw that this sage who was living on the top of the mountain went to sleep with some stick. And he asked him, what do you have this stick for? And he explained that this man-eating leopard is roaming about these forests. So I have for my protection this stick. And he asked him, do you think that little stick will protect you from the leopard? He said, no, but I have to do my part, and Krishna will do the rest. So this is our protection. We know that these things, material things, will not protect us, but we do our part. But we rely on Krishna. So this is the proper attitude. That we don't just put everything on Krishna and we do nothing, but that we do whatever is needed, but we realize that these things will not protect us in reality, and that just Krishna will protect us. Hare Krishna. You have another question?
Yeah, I have. It's kind of follow. I feel like to have full faith is maybe more difficult. Like I have faith, but to a certain point, Krishna provides certain facility or make sure things happen in the right way, then my faith will stay. You know, I have faith in you, Krishna, as long as
Everything is okay.
yeah. So I mean, what type of faith is that, and how to move forward from that?
And Krishna will lead you, will deepen your faith, and also will put tests on your way to test your faith. Yasya ham anugrihnami khanishashtadaneshane tato dhanam tejantasya svajana dukha dukhitam. Krishna explained, when I really love someone, I take him everything away from him. And then the relatives will blaspheme him and leave him alone. But he does it in different manners to different devotees. To one he takes everything immediately. To others very gradually. And for example, also Prabhupada, he was. It is explained by best managers that he was the best possible manager when they read Prabhupada Lilamrita and so on. He was genius, in fact. They say that that every company should have slogans so short that they can fit on t-shirt. And Prabhupada had many such slogans to fit on the t-shirt. Chant and be happy. Books are the basis. Purity is the force. He had many such slogans that can fit on the t-shirt. So he was perfect manager. But nevertheless, his business failed. Whatever effort he put in his business, it failed. So Krishna first took him everything and then gave him everything later on. Then he had millions of dollars on his disposal. So we can see that Krishna will take us through different situations in our life. And I have also my personal experience. I lost my job 8 years ago. And neither I nor my wife had any job since regular. But Krishna took care of us. We are not in debt. We have never been in debt. Know that. Yes. We don't lack anything. We have everything. Krishna takes care of us. Of course, we do something, and Krishna sends us something to make some money, some small amount, but it's enough for us. So Krishna always takes care. This is my experience. Yes. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
So you're stressing in last 2 days that the four Kumars made a severe offense to the Vaishnavas of the Lord, to Jai and Vijay. But even though they made such an offense, they still got the darshan of the Lord. They realized that this is the Lord. They were attracted to the smell of the tulsi on the lotus feet of the Lord. So then they became the devotees. So one could say, and wherever devotees are, then there is the spiritual world. So no matter where they are in the spiritual world. So one could argue that this offense actually had positive results for them.
Yes, because every contact with the Vaishnava is positive. So they contacted Jai and Vijay, and they were blessed. Even though they cursed them, they were still blessed. The Lord came running just because of this commotion, big commotion in front of the door of Vaikuntha. And then they smelled this aroma from Tulsi on the Lord's lotus feet. And then their mind were converted from impersonal attraction to impersonal liberation to the Lord's lotus feet.
Somehow it's the mercy of the devotee.
Yes, by the mercy of the devotee, they became devotees.
Tulsi or Jai Vijay?
Jai Vijay.
Kumaras,
By the mercy of Jai.
by the mercy of Jai and Vijay, the Lord came, and therefore they sent it, this tulsis from the Lord's lotus feet. Yes. Sorry? Yes. So, and we can see also these two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuvar and Manigriva, they were also offensive to Narada Muni. But since they contacted him, they were blessed by Narada Muni.
Well, one could argue that the difference between them and the Kumaras was that the sons of Kuvera realized their mistake and they immediately repented and asked Narada Muni to not curse them so severely. And then
No.
Narada Muni was, no, that was not
No.
the case.
No, they were so arrogant, they didn't cover even their bodies.
Yeah, okay, but after Narada Muni cursed them to become trees, then they realized their mistake. No, that's how I understood the story.
They just become the trees on the garden of Nanda. I think so. It's not explained that they were repenting. It is?
That's how I heard. But probably my own imagination.
But as you were talking, it seemed like after seeing the Lord and the Lord speaking to them, they did repent for their cursing and want to take it back.
Yes, yes. Then they, of course, they realized, and they retained even their memory when they were trees. So this was Narada's mercy. They were standing there naked for 1,000 celestial years, not just earth years, but 1,000 celestial years. Yes.
Talking about the Kumaras.
The Kumaras repented, didn't they?
Yes, they repented. Yes, they repented. But because this was Lord's Leela, he wanted them to go. That he could fight with them, with someone. Yes, please.
Thank you for the class and the association. This Leela of the sons of Kuvera, I just wanted to say something I really appreciate about the Lord is that he becomes imprisoned. So Mother Yasoda bound him up, and in his imprisonment, it's so auspicious that he liberates others. So because he became imprisoned, but then these two these two sons of
Kuvera.
Kuvera became liberated. So it just tying in with that theme of how even in these situations of curses and what looks inauspicious in the material world, it would be inauspicious, but whenever it's in connection with devotees or Krishna, it only has these positive effects. Because generally, like in the material world, if someone's imprisoned, everyone suffers. The family is upset, they miss the person. It's just there's no auspiciousness in that. But when the Lord becomes bound up, then people become liberated.
Yes.
It's only positive, or only all good, as Guru Maharaj would say.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for this comment. Okay. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari.